Hello, Kinders. Tonight we're going to start with The Quilt Story. This story is by Tony Johnson and Tommy DePola. The pictures are by Tommy DePola. A little girl's mother made the quilt to keep her warm when the snow came down long ago. She stitched the quilt by a yellow flame, humming all the time. She stitched the tails of falling stars, and she stitched the name, Abigail. Abigail loved the quilt. She wrapped it around her in the quiet dark and watched the winter skies. Sometimes she saw a falling star. Sometimes Abigail played in the woods near her house. She had tea. Her dolls had tea, and the quilt had tea all over it. Sometimes she pretended the quilt was a gown. She wore it to town on her horse, clop, 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 and it tore. So her mother stitched it up once more. Sometimes she played hide and seek with her sisters. She laughed and cried, "Don't peek," and hid under the quilt, and everyone found her. Sometimes Abigail was sick. She sneezed and sneezed. Then she slept under the quilt, and she felt better. One day Abigail's family moved away, across wide rivers and over a rock-hard trail. The quilt went too, not stuffed in trunks with other blankets and clothes, but it kept the little girls warm from the wild winds, warm from the rain, warm from the sparkling nights. They built a new house in the woods. Abigail's father built it with his hatchet. Chop, chop, chop. He built her a new bed. Chip, chip, chip. He made her a new horse. Too. He worked until curly shavings covered the floor, and everyone sneezed and said, "Welcome home," and was glad. And Abigail felt sad. New house, new horse, new bed. Everything smelled of fresh chops and chips, everything but the quilt. So her mother rocked her as mothers do, then tucked her in, and Abigail felt at home again, under the quilt. One day when the quilt was very old and very loved, Abigail folded it carefully and put it in the attic. Everyone forgot it was there. A gray mouse came and loved the quilt. Her babies were born on top of it. They grew fat and gray in the warm stuffing, and when they got hungry, they ate a falling star. A raccoon came and loved the quilt. She dug a hole in the corner with her black paws and hid an apple there. A cat came and loved the quilt. A patchwork quilt, a cat. It rolled on the stars, and stuffing spilled out like snow. Then the cat curled up in the snow and purred. "Kitty, kitty," called a little girl. She found her cat. She found the quilt, splashed with patterns of sun. The little girl wrapped the quilt around her, and she loved it too. "Can you make it like new?" she asked her mother. So her mother patched the holes. She pushed fresh stuffing in. She stitched long tails on the stars to swish across the quilt again. One day the little girl's family moved away, across miles and miles of pavement and snaking gray highways. They found a new house, freshly cleaned, freshly waxed, freshly painted white. They unpacked and unpacked all night, and everyone sneezed on cardboard dust and said, "Welcome home," and was glad. And the little girl felt sad. Everything smelled of white paint and boxes, everything but the quilt. So her mother rocked her as mothers do, then tucked her in, and she felt at home again, under the quilt. There's Abigail's name. That's a beautiful quilt that Abigail's mom made for her in the beginning of the story. All right, our next story is also about somebody moving, just like they did in the quilt story. This is Ira Says Goodbye by Bernard Weber. Reggie, my best friend, was moving away. My sister was the first to tell me about it. This is how she told me. She said, "Ira!" "What?" I said. "Do I have a surprise for you?" I knew right away I would hate this surprise. "Why? What?" I asked. "What I just heard." I knew right away I shouldn't say what again. "What?" I said again. "Guess," she said. "Goodbye," I said. "Wait," she said. "Somebody's going to be doing something." "What?" I said. "Real soon." "What?" I said. "Something." "Goodbye," I said. "Wait," she said. "Moving," she said. "Somebody's moving." "Somebody's moving?" I said. "In 2 weeks." "Who?" I said. "Aren't you going to guess?" "Who?" I said. Not even one little teeny tiny guess? "Goodbye," I said. "Wait," she said. "Reggie." "What?" I said. "Your best friend is moving?" "Away," she said. "Far, far away." Oh, I would hate it to pieces if my best friend were moving away. What will you do when your best friend in the whole world moves away? "I don't believe it," I said. "Believe it," she said. I ran into the house. "It's true," said my mother. "We were just coming to tell you," said my father. "We learned about it only minutes ago," said my mother. "But it's not as though you won't ever see Reggie again," said my father. "Greendale is only an hour's drive." "Greendale?" I said. "Where Reggie will be living," said my mother. "You can always talk on the telephone," said my father. "But talking on the telephone won't be the same," I said. "I know," said my mother. "I know," said my father. Reggie moving. I couldn't believe it. Reggie was my best friend, as far back as I could remember. We had our own tree house and a secret hiding place that only we knew about, because it was so secret. And we had a magic act, the amazing Reggie and the fantastic Ira. Everyone came to see us perform. And we had our own club, the Dolphins. So far there were only 2 members, us, but we thought it was a good start. I went to all of Reggie's birthday parties, and he came to all of mine. We put our baseball cards together so that way we would make a bigger pile. When Reggie was away on vacation, I took care of his dog Herman. He did the same for Geraldine, my cat. When Reggie was sick in the hospital, I sent him a get well card. I made it myself. And when I was away visiting my grandparents in Oregon, Reggie sent me a miss you card. We even put our turtles together in the same tank so they could be best friends too, like us. My turtle was Felix, his was Oscar. I decided to go and find Reggie and tell him how sorry I felt to hear he was moving away. I found Reggie. We both started talking at the same time. "You're moving?" I said. "We're moving," he said. "To Greendale," I said. "To Greendale," he said. And then he said, "My father has a new job in Greendale," I said. Reggie sighed. I sighed too. "We can still talk on the telephone," I said. "But that won't be the same," said Reggie. "I know," I said. But the next day, to my surprise, Reggie wasn't the same Reggie anymore. "Isn't it terrible?" I said. "Isn't it terrific?" he said. I looked at Reggie. "Did you just say terrific?" "Uh-huh," said Reggie. "Did you just say uh-huh?" I said. "Uh-huh," said Reggie. I couldn't believe it. I said to Reggie, "What you just said, uh-huh, the way you said, uh-huh, did you mean, uh-huh, you're glad you're moving?" "Uh-huh," said Reggie. Reggie started to explain. "Greendale's going to be so great," he said. "Great, great, great. My father told me all about it last night. In Greendale, all the people do is have fun. Fun, 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 all the time. Listen to this. There's this place in Greendale where they keep this killer shark. And every day, people go to this place and see this killer shark, just so they can get scared. Because the minute the killer shark sees everybody, it starts to snort." "Sharks snort?" I said. "This one snorts," said Reggie, "and he makes killer shark faces at everybody because that's what killer sharks love best to do. Make ugly, scary killer shark faces at people. Isn't that great?" He's talking about the aquarium. "And you know what else about Greendale?" said Reggie. "There's this park with games and rides, and all people do all day in Greendale is play these games and scream their heads off riding these rides and watching fireworks on Saturday nights. Isn't that great?" And you know what else about Greendale?" said Reggie. "There's a lake with swans and ducks and cute little baby swans and ducks too, and the minute these swans and ducks see you coming, they just scoot right up to you, just so you can feed them. Isn't that great? And the people of Greendale are so friendly," said Reggie. "All they do all day long is go around smiling, 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 smiling all the time. They just never get tired of smiling. And they give you this big hello no matter how many times they see you. Even if they just see you 200 times a day, they'll stop and say hello. Isn't that great?" "People here are friendly," I said. "Some are even best friends." But Reggie just went on talking about Greendale as if he had never heard about best friends. "Oh, I almost forgot the most terrific part," said Reggie. "The part about my Uncle Steve. He plays football for the Greendale Tigers, you know, and I'll be seeing him every day, and he's going to teach me to kick and pass, so that when I grow up, I'll play football for the Greendale Tigers too. Isn't that great?" Day after day, Reggie had new stories to tell about Greendale. He never seemed to want to do any of our old things anymore, like going up to the treehouse or performing the magic act. He even took back his top hat, cape, and wand, which were kept in the secret hiding place. And while he was at it, he took his baseball cards. It was as if Reggie had already moved away. One day, Reggie came by to take back Oscar, his turtle. It was my turn to keep the tank. "But Felix and Oscar are friends," I said. "They're used to being together." "They're only turtles," said Reggie. "Turtles have feelings," I said, "and nobody can explain to a turtle why his friend isn't with him anymore." "Nothing bothers turtles," said Reggie. "Turtles are bothered. They're bothered a whole lot," I said. "Turtles get lonely, and they get sad, especially if a friend is taken away, and they start to mope." "Turtles do not mope," said Reggie. "They do so mope," I said. "Everybody knows that, and they stop eating, and then they get sick, and they even die. Do you want that to happen, Reggie?" "They don't die," said Reggie. "Not from losing a friend." "They do too die," I said. "Everybody knows that about turtles. Everybody who isn't silly knows that." "I'm taking Oscar," said Reggie. "Then take Felix too," I said. Reggie looked at me. "Do you mean it?" he said. "Uh-huh," I said. And that's just what happened. Reggie walked out with Oscar and Felix. Maybe I shouldn't have said that part about being silly, but sometimes Reggie gets to me. Sometimes Reggie really gets to me. Like whenever I call Reggie on the telephone and I say, "What are you doing?" And he always says, "Talking to you." Like I didn't know he was talking to me. I can't tell you how many times he pulled that one. Do you want to know something else about Reggie? When Reggie eats lunch, He always laughs with his mouth wide open, with all that yucky food showing. I don't like that about Reggie. And Reggie doesn't care one bit about friends. He really doesn't. He doesn't care one bit how lonely Felix and Oscar would feel without each other. Do you want to know something? I just hope some new kid moves into Reggie's old house. Some new kid who will be my best friend. Some new kid who won't always be bragging about his uncle, the football player. Do you want to know something else? I can't wait for Reggie to move. Do you want to know something else? I will jump for joy the day Reggie moves away. I don't have to wait long. One day a big van pulled up to Reggie's house. I watched as the men carried everything out of the house. When the house was empty, Reggie and his parents came outside. Reggie was carrying the tank with Felix and Oscar in it. My parents and sister were there too. Everyone hugged and said goodbye, everyone except Reggie and me. Aren't you two going to say goodbye? Said Reggie's mother. Suddenly Reggie burst out crying and couldn't stop. He cried and no amount of patting seemed to help. Reggie's taking this move so hard, said his father. At last, when Reggie stopped crying, he handed me the tank. And he said, "Here, Ira, you keep them." "You're giving Felix and Oscar to me?" I said. "Uh-huh," said Reggie. I was so surprised. I dug into my pocket for my baseball cards and handed Reggie the one I always knew he wanted. "You're giving me your favorite card?" said Reggie. "Uh-huh," I said. This time it was Reggie's turn to be surprised. We all waved goodbye as Reggie and his parents drove away. When their card disappeared, we looked at each other, and everybody was sad. "There's only one thing to do at a time like this," said my mother. "What?" I asked. "Let's go into the house and bake a cake." "Excellent," said my father. "What kind of cake?" asked my sister. "How about angel food?" said my mother. And that's just what we did the day Reggie moved. We baked a cake. That night the telephone rang. "It's for you, Ira," said my father. It was Reggie. "What are you doing?" he said. "Talking to you," I said. "Stop fooling," said Reggie. "I'm eating cake," I said. "Listen, would you like to visit my house this weekend? My father and I can pick you up." "Oh, would I?" said. "Will your Uncle Steve be there?" "Uh-huh," said Reggie. "Great," I said. "I can't wait." "Just a minute," said Reggie. "My mother wants to ask your mother if it's all right for you to come." My mother got to the telephone. "Say yes," I whispered. Hello?" "Oh, hello, Ellie." Ellie is Reggie's mother. "How are things?" said my mother. "Say yes," I whispered. My mother said, "Uh-huh," and then she said some more uh-huhs, and then she said, "Yes, yes, yes, yes," she kept saying. "Yes, yes, yes." I kept shaking my head, and then she said, "Oh, won't that be nice?" I knew what she meant by nice. "It will be very nice," I whispered. "You're sure it won't be too much trouble?" she said. "It won't be trouble," I shook my head. "Saturday." My mother looked at me, hugging myself. "I know he'll be delighted." My mother hung up. "Guess what?" she said. "I'm invited to Reggie's house," I called out as I ran up the stairs. "Ira, where are you rushing to?" said my father. "Up to pack," I said. "But you're not leaving until Saturday," said my mother. "You have 2 whole days to pack." "I don't want to be late," I said. That is Ira Says Goodbye. Our last story tonight is called Lily's Purple Plastic Purse by Kevin Hanks. Lily loved school. She loved the pointy pencils. She loved the squeaky chalk, and she loved the way her boots went clickety-clickety-click down the long, shiny hallways. Lily loved the privacy of her very own desk. She loved the fish sticks and the chocolate milk every Friday in the lunchroom. And most of all, she loved her teacher, Mr. Slinger. Mr. Slinger was as sharp as a tack. He wore artistic shirts. He wore glasses on a chain around his neck, and he wore a different colored tie for every day of the week. Wow, said Lily. That was just about all she could say. Wow. Instead of greetings, students, or good morning, pupils, Mr. Slinger winked and said, howdy. He thought that desks and rows were old-fashioned and boring. Do you rodents think you can handle a semicircle? And he always provided the most tasty snacks, things that were curly and crunchy and cheesy. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, said Lily. Me too, said her friends, Chester, Wilson, and Victor. At home, Lily pretended to be Mr. Slinger. I am the teacher, she told her baby brother Julius. Listen up. Lily even wanted her own set of deluxe picture encyclopedias. What's with Lily? Asked her mother. I thought she wanted to be a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva, said her father. It must be because of her new teacher, Mr. Slinger, said her mother. Wow, said her father. That was just about all he could say. Wow. Whenever the students had free time, they were permitted to go to the light bulb lab in the back of the classroom. They expressed their ideas creatively through drawing and writing. Lily went often. She had a lot of ideas. She drew pictures of Mr. Slinger, and she wrote stories about him too. During sharing time, Lily showed her creations to the entire class. Wow, said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. Wow. When Mr. Slinger had bus duty, Lily stood in line even though she didn't ride the bus. Lily raised her hand more than anyone else in the class, even if she didn't know the answer. And she volunteered to stay after school to clap erasers. I want to be a teacher when I grow up, said Lily. Excellent choice, said Mr. Slinger. One Monday morning, Lily came to school especially happy. She had gone shopping with her granny over the weekend. Lily had a new pair of movie star sunglasses, complete with glittery diamonds and a chain like Mr. Slinger's. She had 3 shiny quarters. And best of all, she had a brand new purple plastic purse that played a jaunty tune when it was opened. Lily wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Listen to our story. Lily had a hard time listening. Lily really wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Let's be considerate of our classmates. Lily had a hard time being considerate. Lily really wanted to show everyone. Not now, said Mr. Slinger. Wait until recess or sharing time. But Lily could not wait. The glasses were so glittery, the quarters were so shiny, and the purse played such nice music, not to mention how excellent it was for storing school supplies. Look, Lily whispered fiercely. Look, everyone, look what I've got. Everyone looked, including Mr. Slinger. He was not amused. I'll just keep your things in my desk until the end of the day, said Mr. Slinger. They'll be safe there, and then you can take them home. Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. Her glasses were gone. Her quarters were gone. Her purple plastic purse was gone. Lily longed for her purse all morning. She was even too sad to eat the snack Mr. Slinger served before recess. That afternoon, Lily went to the light bulb lab. She was still very sad. She thought and she thought and she thought, and then she became angry. She thought and she thought and she thought some more, and then she became furious. She thought and thought and thought a bit longer. Then she drew a picture of Mr. Slinger. Right before the last bell rang, Lily sneaked the drawing into Mr. Slinger's book bag. When all the students were buttoned and zipped and snapped and all tied and ready to go home, Mr. Slinger strolled over to Lily to give her purple plastic purse back. It's a beautiful purse, said Mr. Slinger. Your quarters are nice and jiggly, and those glasses are absolutely fabulous. You may bring them back to school as long as you don't disturb the rest of the class. I do not want to be a teacher when I grow up, Lily said as she marched out of the classroom. On the way home, Lily opened her purse. Her glasses and quarters were inside, and so was a note from Mr. Slinger. It said, "Today was a difficult day. Tomorrow will be better." There was also a small bag of tasty snacks at the bottom of the purse. Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. She felt simply awful. Lily ran all the way home and told her mother and father everything. Instead of watching her favorite cartoons, Lily decided to sit in the uncooperative chair. That night, Lily drew a new picture of Mr. Slinger and wrote a story about him too. Lily was really sorry, so everyone forgave her, even her parents, even her stinky baby brother, even her especially incredible teacher, and then the sun shined its smiley face down on everyone and everything, even the bugs and worms. The end. Lily's mother wrote a note, and Lily's father baked some tasty snacks for Lily to take to school the next day. "I think Mr. Slinger will understand," said Lily's mother. "I know he will," said Lily's father. The next morning, Lily got to school early. "These are for you," Lily said to Mr. Slinger, "because I'm really sorry." Mr. Slinger read the story, and he looked at the picture, and he read the note, and he sampled the snacks. "Wow," said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. "Wow." "What do you think we should do with this?" asked Mr. Slinger. "Could we just throw it away?" said Lily. "Excellent idea," said Mr. Slinger. During sharing time, Lily demonstrated the many uses and unique qualities of her purple plastic purse, her shiny quarters, and her glittery movie star sunglasses. Then she did a little performance using them as props. "It's called interpretive dance," said Lily. Mr. Slinger joined in. "Wow," said the entire class. That was just about all they could say. Wow. Throughout the rest of the day, Lily's purse and quarters and sunglasses were tucked safely inside her desk. She peeked at them often, but she did not disturb a soul. Right before the last bell rang, Mr. Slinger served Lily snacks to everyone in delight. What do you want to be when you grow up?" asked Mr. Slinger. "A teacher," everyone responded. Lily's response was the loudest. "Excellent choice," said Mr. Slinger. As the pupils filed out of the classroom, Lily held her purple plastic purse close to her heart. Mr. Slinger was right. It had been a better day. Lily ran and skipped and hopped and flew all the way home, and she was so happy. And she really did want to be a teacher when she grew up. That is, when she didn't want to be a dancer or a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva or a pilot or a hairdresser or scuba diver. And that is the end of Lily in the purple plastic purse. I hope you sleep well tonight, and I will talk to you tomorrow.